Welcome back for another episode of Strive for 25. Joel Farrell here, and looking forward to sharing with you our guest today. All right, another episode of the Strive for 25 podcast. I've got a really cool guest, a friend of mine, Jeff Badu. He's an entrepreneur, has a couple businesses in place. He's an investor, and just can't wait to tap into his brain and all the things he has going on. But Jeff, can you please give our listeners a quick intro for yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Definitely thank you for having me on your platform, your channel today. It's always an honor and a blessing to speak to a group of like-minded people and to be able to educate and just have a real conversation about finances and wealth. And so my name is Jeff Badu. I'm a licensed CPA, licensed certified public accountant. I'm a parallel entrepreneur and a wealth multiplier. I was born and raised in Ghana, came to the US when I was 8 years old. And then ultimately, basically fast forward, I went to the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. I got a bachelor's degree in accounting and a master's degree in accounting. And then ultimately from there, I was interning working at PricewaterhouseCoopers for a few years while also working on my own business plan on the side, my own CPA or tax firm. And fast forward to 2016, I left PricewaterhouseCoopers to start my own accounting firm, which today is now known as Badu Tax Services LLC, which is a tax firm, a CPA firm that does tax preparation, tax planning, and tax representation for individuals and businesses across all 50 states in the US. And we also have clients that have a global presence in over 25 countries at the moment. Overall, we have currently over 3,000 clients in our database, since we built it in 2016. And the firm is a part of our bigger company, which is known as Badu Enterprises LLC, which is a multinational conglomerate in the finance industry. And so what we do is not only do we have the tax firm, which is sort of like the mother company, we have a bookkeeping company. So we actually do bookkeeping. We do life and health insurance. So if anyone needs life and health insurance, we can help sort of broker those transactions. And then we have a real estate investment company where we own Badu Investments LLC. And that's the company that acquires apartment buildings mainly in underserved, underprivileged communities, such as the south side of Chicago. And we currently control 126 units on the south side. Basically, we acquire them. We make sure they're stable. They have good management in place. That's very important. And we're just providing good housing in exchange for rental payments, right? So the service we provide, we get paid through the rent that we collect from the tenants, and we hope that we provide a great welcoming environment, livable environment for our tenants. And then also, lastly, we have the Badu Foundation that teaches financial literacy to the youth ages 6 to 18, and we're teaching them on topics such as budgeting, saving, investing, and scholarships. And my purpose in life is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle. So thank you once again for having me, Joel. And thank you to the audience for listening today.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. And we're talking about a, 6, 7 year time span of the main business, that the tax services. And as you've gone on, you've been able to expand into other things and kind of build your infrastructure.
Yes,
So there's a lot to dig into on this. But I kind of want to start from the beginning, because right now we're talking to a lot of people who are just getting into their entrepreneurship journey, and some people that have a 9 to 5 job that are starting their side hustle and with the hopes of turning it into a business, and then maybe their full-time career. And there's so many more people that are doing things creatively to generate income coming out of COVID. It's changed the way we look at a lot of things. So many more people out there are doing things in the side, or building their businesses. And so I think it's a huge amount of the audience here and mindset that people are in. So going back to the very beginning of your journey, you were working at a major corporation in the tax field, and then you decided along the way to be able to start your own thing. Can you talk us through the hurdles, the process? I mean, how did you get from 0 to 100 and what kind of time frame from when it first entered your mind to when it became a reality?
Yeah, it's a great question, Joe. And so it all goes back to the beginning, the background. So being born and raised in Ghana, which is on the west side of Africa, essentially it's a very hustle mentality. It's very hard to get a job in Ghana. There's very little education. Like the education system is not the best. So it's not like America where you can, hey, you can go to a public school, it's paid for. Then you can, go to a college where you might get a scholarship. It's not really like that. You can get a scholarship in Ghana, but it's very non-traditional environment, right? It's not your typical W-2 day job type of environment. It's a very hustle, entrepreneur, I have a business mentality. So growing up and watching that inspired me to want to become an entrepreneur. And to add fuel to the fire, both of my parents are also into entrepreneurship. They're also real estate developers. And that really fueled, they say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Show me your environment. And that's going to tell you where things are probably going to lead to. So being surrounded by entrepreneurs, it really only forced me to become an entrepreneur. But essentially, when I entered the U of I, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, I started building my business plan, right? Because I always had an interest in accounting. I had taken several questionnaires and, talked to different mentors, and accounting was sort of what it led to. So I started doing research on YouTube and Google about taxes, how to prepare taxes, the industry itself. And then I started doing taxes for people. I started volunteering on the side, right? My parents, my family, friends. I actually was volunteering through different like volunteer programs, tax volunteer programs essentially. And with that, you know, I just kept developing a passion. Right, I didn't charge anybody anything for this. I just said, hey, I just want to get the experience to see if I like it, and I promise you, I won't make a mistake. I promise that things are going to go good because this is the field that I'm studying right now. So it gave them a little bit of comfort, right? And overall, you know, between 2010 when I started college to 2016 when I left PwC, I was working on that business plan for 6 years. I spent about an hour each and every single day working on that business plan, right? Doing taxes for people, looking at the target audience, looking at the technology that's put in place, looking at what's going to happen 10 years from now. And exactly what I predicted is exactly what happened 10 years from 2010, right? Where the entire accounting industry was going to be forced to go digital, right? To go online. And yes, it was the pandemic that fueled it. I didn't predict the pandemic, but I did predict that everybody will be forced to move to online, to digital, right? So, with all that being said, at PwC, I was actually an audit intern. So, I decided to become an auditor at PwC so that I can learn more about business, learn more about companies. And I also chose strategically private companies. So, not public companies, but private companies, more of the small businesses that we work with each and every day, and allowed me to get to know more about these small businesses. It allowed me to learn more about, how to service these businesses, how they operate, the leadership, the ownership structure, and all that. I learned a ton by auditing private companies. So with that being said, in 2016, this was around Labor Day, so around September 5th, 2016, I decided to turn in my 2-week notice because I was tired of PwC. I did not want to sort of be chained to a desk. Um, I wanted to be free. I wanted to be unleashed. And that's where Badu Tax Services got created. And when I formed it, it was a struggle because number one, I didn't have any paying clients at the time when I left PwC. Number two, I had a mortgage, right? I had bills that I needed to pay. And so it was a struggle financially to begin. Like in the first year in 2016, we literally made $900 in the firm, like 900 bucks in the firm. But luckily, I was able to do some side gigs. Like, for example, I was driving for Uber, which eventually turned into a car rental business, right? I'm sure we can talk more about that, but it was a struggle financially to start with. And then just the pressure. I mean, your heart is beating because you're finally an entrepreneur, you're out on your own, and you want to do things on your own. And so those were some of the challenges that I had to deal with between 2010 and 2016. But luckily, those challenges have been overcome as of 2022 due to the experience, due to the network, due to all the things that we've been able to do essentially.
So you gave your 2 weeks with no clients, on the hopper, no clients officially in line.
That is correct.
It's a
No paid clients, unpaid clients, but not paid.
right. Okay. So you had done enough work with some of the unpaid that where you, I guess you felt comfortable
Yep.
that in time, because tax season's coming up in April, that you'd be able to capitalize on those non-pay clients and turn them into pay clients. Is that kind of the thought process?
Yeah, that was basically part of it. I knew that the family would be there to support. If even if you charge them, I knew that they would be willing to pay because they were already paying. I just decided to voluntarily do it for them for free to gain experience. And I purposely told them I don't want to charge them because I want to see if I love it, right? If I'm not getting paid to do something and I still love doing it, then it's probably a passion, right? And so I turned that passion into an actual business, into an actual career. And that's what's led me to where I am today. And I don't ever see myself looking back. Even the word retirement is not really something I even see. Although there will be times where I'll probably step down or step back a little bit from the business.
So if there was somebody out there, because again, your niche was the tax field, that's the passion that you chose at that point in time. And some people go into 5 different things before they find their passion over however many years. So everybody's journey is going to be a little bit different. So if somebody's sitting in their cubicle or sitting on their home computer, working remotely or whatever the situation is, and they've got a passion and they're doing a job that they may not actually love and they want to get into something else, any other advice or words of wisdom you would give to that person to help them take that next step towards turning their passion into a side business?
Yeah, that's a great question, Joe. So basically, there's 5 steps, and I actually have a book about this called Seven Figures: How to Become a Millionaire. And in one of the first,
Which I own. Thank you.
yes, sir, absolutely. Thank you for that, Joe. Yeah, so I mean, in basically the first few chapters, we talk about the 5 steps to successfully launching a business and or a side hustle, pretty much. Right. So step number 1 is find something you're passionate about, something that you would do even if you didn't get paid for it. Right. It can be taking pictures. You can be going on vacations taking pictures. Next thing you know, you find out that there's a photography career that's out there. So you become a photographer. That's something you were doing anyway without even getting paid. Right. Social media influencer, tax professional. I mean, that one is very uncommon, but for me, that was something I was able to do. It could be anything. I mean, you can draw, you can write books, you can be a publisher, you can be an Airbnb designer, right? It can be anything. The beauty about life is that we all have the ability to choose whatever it is we want to do because we want to do it, right? We're free to do so. Nobody's saying, hey, we can't do it, right? So, with the ability to do something, as long as you're passionate about it, I think this is something you should now basically put your focus towards and say, hey, I still have this job, right? Always focus on your job. Do your job right. Make sure you get it done. Make sure you perform, right? Don't be subpar at your job. But on the side, right? So you got your 9 to 5, that's your job, let's just say. And then your 5 to 9, your side hustle. Maybe when you come home after eating dinner, working out, whatever it is you got to do, maybe spend 2 to 3 hours, right? 2 to 3 hours or so working on your side hustle, right? So remember, first step is essentially find what it is you're passionate about. And you're right, Joe, it could be a multitude of things. It can be several things. I would say do something that you don't get paid for and you still enjoy doing and find a way to turn that into a business and or a career, right? That's step 1. Step 2 is start researching the industry. Spend some time, maybe spend an hour, spend 2 hours a day researching and getting to know more about your industry, right? This can be on YouTube, like for me, like Google. It can be on business industry websites like IBIS World, where you get to learn more about your industry. So
Can,
as you're doing
can,
that, go
can
ahead.
you repeat that one more time? What was that website?
So it's IBIS World, IBIS World,
Cool. IBIS
IBIS
World.
World.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Pretty much it helps you research your industry, it gives you a report about your industry, the top players and all that good stuff. But as you're doing this research, start putting it on paper. If it's not written down, it doesn't exist, right? So as I was doing, as I was researching my industry, I was writing down who are the top three players in my industry? What are they doing well? And most importantly, what are they not doing well? So that you can start doing those things well, you know? And so basically start really finding ways to differentiate yourself from the rest. Why would somebody go to you for something when they can go down the street to somebody else, right? Outside of them being your friend or your family. So basically start jotting down those key important things, critical things that you need to implement in your business. Step 4 is test your business plan. Test your business plan.
Okay.
Meaning,
Okay. So four is test
yes,
your
sir.
business plan. And what was step 3?
So basically, step 3 is write the business plan.
Right. Right. Okay.
So
Cool.
exactly, exactly. So step 4, test it out. The stuff that you found out that wasn't working too well, well, are you actually doing those things for people? For example, in the tax industry, one of the reasons why we got in it was because of a lack of financial or lack of education, period, especially when it comes to taxes. So we said, why not create a firm that's centered around education so that at a bare minimum, we know that we've educated people and we've sort of added, more. We've added inspiration around the tax landscape to say, hey, this is no longer something I have to do every year and pay Uncle Sam, but this is something that, you know what, this can be a fun exercise. This could be something where I'm going into my QuickBooks for my business, I'm doing my transactions, I'm finding out I have more awareness now of my finances, and that's empowering me to make better decisions. And then whatever my fair share that I pay to Uncle Sam, if any, then I'll pay to Uncle Sam. So you want to start testing out. You want to start going out to the communities, the neighborhood, maybe knock on 10 doors and just test it out, right? Maybe you're selling the product, maybe use a test product for people and say, hey, if this product was this price, would you pay for it? Maybe have them do a sample of it, maybe it's a very small sample and say, hey, do you enjoy this product? Is this something you would buy? How often would you buy it? Right? You just really get out there and start learning more, like do more practical things because the written down is great. It's awesome. But if it's not practical, then it's not going to work too well. And then when you're at the comfort, quote unquote, comfort zone of, hey, I'm ready to make the jump and actually launch the business, and your gut will tell you, you can pray over it, meditate over it. Your gut will tell you that, hey, I'm ready to launch this thing. My test results are where I need it to be. My price is set. My website is good. I'm ready to launch. So then step 5, where most entrepreneurs make the mistake, is the jumping. You got to jump, right? If you're just on the ladder, or if you're just there and you're not jumping, then what good was it? Was all that work you just did? It was a great learning experience, but what good did it really do to society if you didn't actually make the jump? So step number 5 is make the jump. Maybe start off a little slow, maybe 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, and then go full throttle 40 hours a week into your passion.
Cool. I love it. So that's kind of the foundation, getting things started. And I don't want to get too far into this conversation without letting listeners know where to find you, because in step 4, you're talking about the business that you've built and centered around education and the community and testing and all that stuff. And we met a number of years ago, and you've got things that you do and share some of the interviews and education on Facebook and on radio. You have all different things that you're doing to be able to share some of the insights and education. So can you share with us, where everyone can find you?
Yeah, definitely, Joe. So main place is my personal website, which is jeffbadu.com, right? JEFFBADU.com. That's jeffbadu.com. It has a ton of resources on there, articles, blogs, books, courses, and then also a way to contact me directly. There's literally a contact me section on the page. You can send me a message. You can, shoot me a note, whatever the case may be. If you want an old school call me, then it's 773-819-5675. Once again, 773-819-5675. But the main place is the website, jeffbadu.com. That's JEFFBADU.com.
Love it. So again, there's just so much to unpack with this journey, all the things you've been able to accomplish in the different, niches and fields and industries. Um, talking about the wealth multiplier. So, whenever someone's starting their journey, you start to work on something and you work, and you may or may not see results right away from the fruits of your labor, right? So you kind of got to have a little bit of faith in knowing that the work that you're doing is getting you somewhere. Because not until you get to a month, 6 months, a year of putting in all the work and building habits, and do you start to see tangible results. But you also got to know where you're headed, got to know where you're trying to get to, and sometimes you have to course correct to get there as you talk to more people and uncover different ideas and strategies. So the wealth multiplier piece of it, kind of looking down the road here, can you explain more about that part of this? Where is somebody trying to get to with someone's entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Please excuse any background noise. But basically, in terms of wealth multiplier, right? So what I do is I help people find money that they never knew existed, and that, for example, you may, right? You're basically, let's say you were doing your taxes on your own, and yeah, it's cool. You get your paycheck, boom, you pay your taxes, boom, and then you file your taxes at the end of the year. But what a lot of people don't know is that the tax code was really created for you, not against you, right? There's ways to actually save more money when it comes to taxes. And so what I can do, myself and my team can do, is we can basically put together strategies that can literally wipe out your taxes down to zero so that your fair share, remember the word fair is bolded, right? Emphasized. The word fair is whatever is deemed fair according to the law, right? And according to the strategies you've been using. So basically, with that, we can help people find money they never knew existed through tax savings, through tax strategies. So in terms of the wealth multiplication piece, that is one thing that where we start is saying, hey, let's find leakages in your budget first. Let's find the expenses, and your number one expense typically is your taxes. Some people think it's their home, but it's really their taxes, right? But let's find leakages. Let's find areas in your budget. Let's start with the taxes. Then let's drill down your budget. Maybe we can turn your housing from a personal property into a rental property where the tenants in the building pay your mortgage for you every single month so that you eliminate your number two expense on your books completely. You just saved and freed up about 60% of your budget, 60% of your budget just from taxes and housing, just from us having one or two conversations. And then those
Awesome.
savings, you reinvest it into income producing assets, such as rental real estate. You get the tax benefits. And then overall, you just keep the cycle going. You fund your 401k or Roth 401k, Roth IRA, health savings account, right? All those buckets so that your wealth just keeps multiplying, never stops, basically.
So can we dig into an example? Do you have an example of somebody that did XYZ that was able to get to a certain point and then down the road was able to then minimize their taxes? I'm sure there's probably I know my own strategy that you helped me with that has to do with real estate, but that's just one. I mean, what other types of examples are out there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Joe. So basically, let's say we have a real estate agent, a real estate broker, who by definition is a real estate professional. Very important term.
Okay.
A real estate professional is someone who's in the business of real estate and or owns a lot of rental properties. Right. So we can define them according to the code, a real estate professional. With this professional, this agent, she basically, and let's just call her, let's just call her Brianna, right? Let's say Brianna is a real estate agent, and in her business, she makes $150,000 in revenue. She was able to collect commissions worth of 150,000. She met with Badu Tax Services, and we were able to drill down her expenses. She now is writing off her meals, right? Her eating out, dining in, even groceries to make the meals. Her travel, right? We're leveraging travel as a board meeting, essentially. Her laptop, her cell phone, her car that she drives to a lot of showings. Returning her home office into a tax deduction, right? So all of these expenses amount to $50,000. When at first she was only writing off about $10,000. So already we're giving her an additional $40,000 in tax deductions. And at her tax bracket of, let's just say, 25%, we're saving her $10,000 right off the bat. Here's another thing. When she came to us, she was not an S corporation. She was a Schedule C, right? She was being taxed as a sole proprietorship or a Schedule C. And according to the tax code, basically, effectively, you're going to pay an extra 10% on taxes through the self-employment tax if you're Schedule C. So for her, 150,000 in revenue, 50,000 in write-offs or expenses equals 100,000 net profit. Remember, we already saved her $40,000 worth of expenses, which equates to 10,000, right? Which is the 25% of the 40,000. So we're already saving her $10,000 in taxes. We're literally multiplying her wealth by $10,000 that she can use as a down payment on a rental property, which is exactly what she's going to do, which we'll explain here in a second. But
You got this thing all now. Okay, okay.
yeah, definitely.
I love this. I love that. Okay,
Yes,
well,
sir.
let's see where this goes. Okay.
Yes, sir. So we got 100,000 net profit, right? And in reality, she would have paid 25% taxes on that, $25,000 plus 10% of the self-employment tax, extra $10,000. So she would have paid 35,000 in taxes that year. We're not even counting the extra write-offs that we got for her. But let's just say she's not an S corp. We convert her to an S corp by filing the necessary paperwork, the 2553 S corp election form. And please do not try this at home. It is very risky, right? It is very, very risky. And so, with that being said, the self-employment tax is now wiped out. He's no longer paying an extra 10% on the profit. 10% times 100,000 profit equals $10,000. We just saved her another 10,000. On top of the 10,000 that we saved her in taxes for the additional write-offs that she was missing all of these years. So we just put $20,000 in her bank account. Cold hard cash, no questions asked. Now the second piece of it is where we turn her passive income and reinvest it into active income. Imagine this $20,000 she just created. And mind you, she doesn't have a lot of bills. She's a single young entrepreneur, millennial, right? She's out and about, whatever the case may be. But she has $20,000 now that she just created. And she said, okay, well, what do I put this money into, Jeff? And I said, well, why not put it into the thing that you sell the most, right? Why not practice what you actually preach? And so we say, well, buy a rental property. So she goes out and buys a 4-unit investment property, rental property, 4-unit apartment building using an FHA loan, Federal Housing Administration loan. Now, for the sake of simplicity, you do have to occupy one of the units as a primary residence, right? In her case, she also has a secondary residence that she balances out from time to time. And so when she's not at her primary residence, she's Airbnb-ing the primary residence, right? She still claims that at her primary residence because that's where she mainly lives. That's where she is most of the time.
So she's in which one, the multi or the other one?
So she's in a 4-unit. She lives. Let's just say she lives on the 4th floor, pretty much.
Okay, so she's claiming that newly acquired 4-unit property.
Yes, sir.
She's living in one of the units.
Yes, sir.
And if you said FHA loan, 3.5% down.
3.5% down.
So 8 months ago, the market was vastly different. So you're putting an offer on a property, probably going $50,000 over the list price, getting no concessions on closing.
Mhm.
Fast forward to today, a lot's changed. We all
Yep.
know why.
Yes, sir.
If you don't know why, ask in the comments and we'll explain it to you. Just kidding. Now you're getting self concessions, so you can take that $20,000. So if I
Mhm.
take that $20,000 as a down payment of 3.5%, assuming the seller covers all closing costs, I
Yep.
take 20,000 divided by 0.035. That
Mhm.
backs into a purchase price of 571.
There you go.
So you can
There you
buy a
go.
571 purchase price multifamily,
Yes,
live
sir.
in it. Okay, now let's
Yes, sir.
what's next?
Yeah. So let's just say she got it for 400,000. Right.
Beautiful. Okay, 400,000.
Got it. Market is dropping a little bit. Got a nice deal. She wasn't outbidded or anything like that, overbidded, right? So she got a $400,000 floor unit. She occupies one of the units, but she also uses Airbnb when she's not there, basically. And let's just say she can collect $1,000 a month in her primary residence unit. The
A,
other
thou- a, a
units,
thousand a month
yes,
Airbnb.
sir, through Airbnb income, which
So
is very doable.
okay. So I don't know much about that. We just had somebody on the podcast that aired
Mhm.
last Friday. His name is Josh Laguerre, and
Okay.
he's in the Destin, Fort Walton Beach in Florida, talking about house hacking. House
Yes,
hacking,
sir.
I think, has different definitions depending on who you talk to, but in his version, he was talking about renting out Airbnb some of the rooms while he
Hmm.
lived in it. So is that what you're
Yes, sir.
talking about? Okay.
Yeah. So
So sort of like
basically,
that. Okay.
exactly. So let's just say that she's following the rules, right? This new property, $400,000. She put down 14 grand, which is 3.5%. And then, yeah, you're right, closing costs and all that. Let's say it all counts up to 20,000, the amount that we were able to save, right? So with that being said, that unit that she lives in, her primary residence, she lives there maybe 15 days in a month. She has a secondary residence that she pretty much occupies from time to time. Let's just say she has a boyfriend and she goes to her boyfriend's place half the time, right?
Hmm.
So 15 days in a month is her living there. The other 15 days, Airbnb, right? Airbnb. And she's able to do $1,000 a month when you accumulate all of the rent she collects from Airbnb. And then the other three units, she has tenants in there paying $1,000 a month each, right? So $4,000 a month total income. Her expenses, to keep it simple, $2,000 a month. And that leaves her with $2,000 extra cash flow each and every month. So now she has $24,000 that she literally has that's pretty much sitting in the bank. She doesn't need it, right? All her bills are paid by her business and by her tenants. So here's where the game changes. Also, by meeting with Badu Tax Services, we engage her in a strategy called cost segregation, where that $400,000 property, we can get a 25% tax deduction on that property by using the strategy. It's called accelerated depreciation through the strategy cost segregation. So a $400,000 building times 25% is a $100,000 depreciation tax deduction. Remember, her business, she netted $100,000. 100,000 minus 100,000. It doesn't take a genius to figure this out. Is zero.
Can you run
She's
that
paid
math by me
nothing.
again? So you went from 100 to 100 to a zero.
So she has a
So
hundred
zero,
thousand
zero,
net
zero.
profit. Yep, 100,000 net profit from her real estate agent business. She has a $400,000 building where we can claim a 25% tax deduction on that $400,000 building by utilizing accelerated depreciation, also known as cost segregation. 400,000 times 25% equals 100,000. 100,000 profit minus 100,000 write-off equals zero. Taxes paid back.
Okay. So that 400,000 times 25%, that is the amount of depreciation that you can use to offset your taxable income.
Yes,
Okay. So what about year two? So that's year one, right?
yep. So year two, we do the thing all over again. She goes out and buys another property. Now, this time she has to put down 20%, right? Which is cool. She has all that money she made from her property. Her real estate business has doubled. Now she's at 300,000 in income, 200,000 in profit, and she doesn't know what to do with all that money. So why not buy an $800,000 property
Eight
and
hundred
get a
thousand
25%
dollar multifamily.
multifamily? Now she
Multifamily
gets up
again. Okay.
into a 10-unit building.
Okay. Okay. So
That's
she
it.
buys a 10 unit. Now, on the residential side of things, that surpasses what residential financing can do,
Yes, sir.
which
So that
then
would
gets
go
you
into
into
a commercial.
commercial,
Mhm.
which on this channel, we haven't dug too deep into the differences between residential and commercial yet. We will.
Yes, sir.
But on the mortgage side of things, there's a lot of people that are not aware that commercial financing, private financing, is out there to get and is
Mhm.
more accessible than most people think. People you have to have
Mm.
all this history and criteria to fit into, but it's not as difficult as some may think. So,
Yes, sir.
anything more you can kind of explain on that? So a 10 unit, and you mentioned 20% down.
Yep.
Okay.
We referred her, basically we referred her one of the lenders in our network. Of course, we're going
Hmm.
to refer Joe for the residential side of the lending.
Hmm.
And then if Joe knows somebody on the commercial side, and we'll also, get her in that too. But ideally, we do have access to 20% down. So she's put down $200,000 on that $800,000 building, which, by the way, she could potentially even leverage some business credit on the commercial, right? That's a whole other topic. But let's just say that now that she has history in her real estate agent business, she has history in her real estate property business. Now she can go out and get some lines of credit. She can get some term loans. She can get a business credit card, whatever it takes to fund whatever difference she doesn't have in the bank. Mind you, she has 200,000 clean cash in the bank, right? But she wants to tap into some other people's money.
Okay.
So she has
Okay.
an $800,000 building. Now she has 14 units, making her $14,000 a month, netting $7,000 every month, clean cash, tax free at that.
Tax free because of
Yes, sir.
essentially because of the depreciation.
Because of depreciation.
So year two, that first property that we use the $100,000 depreciation, how does that work in the second year?
Yeah, so the second year
Or
we'll
just
take
ballpark?
400,000. Yeah, we'll take the purchase price minus 100,000, which leaves us with 300,000 left over. Let's subtract the land, but for the case of simplicity, let's just say the land is 50,000. We cannot depreciate land, so 300,000 minus 50,000 equals 250,000, and we still have 26 and a half years that we can depreciate for the property. So 250,000 divided by, typically it's 27 and a half years, but since we're in year two now, it's 26.5, so 26 and a half. She still gets a tax write-off of $9,433 or $34 on that first rental property and automatic depreciation tax deduction every single year she owns the property.
Okay. But that first year is kind of the bonus.
Exactly. Yes, sir. And she does this every single year, and whatever profit she gets, she puts it back into real estate. But then she has this side bucket. This is the third bucket of wealth, where she's putting some money into a Roth 401k, Roth IRA, HSA, health savings account, premium finance, life insurance plan, right? She's putting it into what we call the, it's not my active, it's not my passive, but it's my portfolio income,
Mhm.
where I'm saving this for a rainy day.
So let's say you've got somebody that's already in a cost segregation type of strategy,
Mm-hmm.
and they acquired a property in 2021 and previous to that. And if they haven't bought one in the calendar year 2022, if they so that is that a reason or incentive to try to scoop one up for the calendar year of 2022?
Yeah, I mean, and if you're running out of time, maybe ask for seller finance. Right? We just got a seller finance deal yesterday, believe it or not, at 3.5% interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
3.5%. Average mortgage rate, I believe right now is about 8%.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
So,
yeah.
So seller financing, that's probably a whole different conversation to dig into down the road. But
Yes, sir.
um, does the deed transfer over, or and then so how does that work from a bottom line standpoint?
Yeah. So I mean, I've done a seller finance deal before. We usually do it through a land contract,
Uh-huh.
right? Where we still record it in the county, but technically ownership itself does not. I mean, you can still claim it on your taxes, and you can reap all the rewards of it, but the seller does stay on the deed, right? They do stay on the deed, and you pretty
Hmm.
much get added as pretty much we're going to transfer the title through a land contract,
Okay.
contingent upon you paying off the loan of the seller, right? So yeah, you will get the deed, you will get all the ownership rights, but the owner sort of owns the property in a way.
Okay. So
But you're getting all the benefits.
the paying off the loan of the seller, is there a time frame on that?
So usually we'll do a 30-year loan with a 5-year balloon. So we use a commercial loan for that.
Okay.
So 30-year loan, 30-year amortization period. That's how much the mortgage amount is going to be calculated. And then 5-year balloon, meaning the whole amount is due in 5 years. Most sellers will be willing to refinance because they'll just keep collecting interest every year.
Hmm.
Which, by the way, is a great tax strategy for them because now they don't have to recognize the full profit as a capital gain. Now they can spread it out over 30 years, basically. Um,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
yes, sir. And it's going to
Okay.
be very common in times like this where the market is sort of dropping a little bit, interest rates are much higher, and nobody knows what's going to happen in the economy.
Right. Very, very interesting. Okay. Okay. So back to Brianna. Is that what
Yes,
we
sir.
named her?
Yep. Hmm.
So she's now got 14 units. She's just bought this next property as just full out multi-unit investment, commercial loan, 20% down. Her real estate business is rocking and rolling. She's bringing in cash. So then what? To do it
Do
again.
it again. I mean, do it until you own the world,
Okay.
right?
And
I mean,
then
why not?
if this person then comes across another investor or an aspiring investor, because she's got that history and experience on her own of building that, she may be
Hmm.
able to advise and show them the way and be able to help somebody on their own path towards
Yeah.
building a portfolio. And I mean, you're talking about paying no taxes, acquiring rentals, and this is the beginning stages of generational wealth, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And that's a
Yes,
term
sir.
that gets thrown around a lot and may mean something different for somebody else. So let's say, man, we should have we should have mapped these numbers out over 20 years or 10 years and just look at the in advance and look at the property appreciation, because we talk about 3 or 4 or 5% appreciation over the years,
Hmm.
10 years, 15 years, and then the pay down of the principal. That's when you're talking about just massive gains over a short period of time.
I can guarantee you, Brianna will become a billionaire in 20 years if she follows the strategy step by step.
Can you repeat that one more time?
So Brianna she will become a billionaire
A
in
billionaire,
20 years. A billionaire with a B, absolutely.
a
Because she's
billionaire.
already the millionaire side. She's already gonna surpass in like
Right.
2, 3 years, right? But the B, the billionaire, because she's following the strategy step by step. She's not deviating from it, and she's being smart with her money. She is keeping reserves. She's doing what she got to do. She's got a good management team, very critical in real estate. As long as she's buying the right properties, the right deals in the right location, I don't see any reason why, if she follows her path with no distractions, nothing like that, I don't see why she wouldn't become a billionaire with a B within the next 20 years.
Okay. So holy cow. If
Yeah.
I'm an aspiring entrepreneur, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean, think about how many real estate agents that are out there. Some that are not active. The majority are not closing more than a couple of deals a year. That's the majority. And
Yes,
then you
sir.
have your core that are closing. Then you have your very small percentage that have a top, 2, 4, 5%, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a middle level agent and you step on the gas and do things a little bit differently and try to be able to build your business up, that could be the path of somebody turning their life of where they are today and then
Mm-hmm.
build something bigger than themselves and turn themselves into a billionaire, like literally a billionaire.
There you go. I mean, why can't Brianna add agents to her team where she's collecting commission off of their commission?
Right.
Why
Yep.
can't she
Yep.
set up a course that's teaching people how to repeat the strategy? Why can't she set up a fund to buy more real estate with other investors that are in her network? So that's what I'm saying. There's no reason if she stays focused and she keeps expanding her abundance mindset. There's no reason why she wouldn't become a billionaire tax free over a 20-year period.
Okay. So, um, again, the website again is what? Jeff Badu.
JeffBadu.com, JEFFBADU.com.
.com. So people can find you there. You gave out your cell phone before, or the mobile phone. You want to give that again?
Yeah, so the phone line is 773-819-5675. That's 773-819-5675.
And you mentioned the book. So if people go to the website, they can find
Yeah,
probably
you can find the
a
book.
couple
It's
books.
this is the main one, Infinite Expansion, how to infinitely expand your vision of abundance. It's on a website. It's also on Amazon. But this is a book about my life purpose, my life story. And by reading this book, I guarantee you, if you're lost in life, you're going to be found for sure.
And so listeners that may be hearing this for the first time, um, we talk a lot about this on this channel about, there's so much information out there. If information was the key to success,
Mm-hmm.
then we'd all be happy and successful because there's so much information out there at our fingertips,
Right.
on our cell phones, right? But
Exactly.
that's not the only component. There's something more than that. And that's one of the things that we talk about as well. How do you take this information and actually implement it into an action plan, implement it into, life-changing series of events? And we talk about building habits and then harnessing the power of the subconscious brain to help you reach your goals. And so these are things that we talk about a little bit here and there. Staying focused, staying on path. Like there's just so many distractions that we come across in this life, and social media, working from home, just the gamut, right? What are some of the things that you do on your own in your own personal, journey that's helped keep you focused on your passion,
Yeah,
on your vision?
that's a great question, Joe. It all begins with my spiritual life. I'm very spiritual. I'm a proud member of my church. I pray at least 3 times a day. I believe there's always a greater one that's watching over all of us. Whether you call him God, whether you call him Allah, whatever, right? Whatever it is you decide. Um, it all begins spiritual for me, and the spirit is really what fuels the fire in my body to want to go out and do better and to help people. So it all begins with the spiritual, right? Then from there, I set a goal, a vision board every year to say, hey, these are the 3 to 5 things that I want this year. I want to travel to 4 international destinations. I want my business to generate 10 million in revenue. I want XYZ, right? So just lay it out, have it nice in front of you. You can see it every single day. And then from there, I read books. I do about 30 audiobooks every year. And how I do this is a secret. I take a walk about an hour every single day. Outside of it being cold, I'm in Chicago currently. You can't really take walks. So I use I have a cycler that I use, and I'll be listening to the audiobook for an hour. And, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But overall, that leads me to reading 30 books a day on personal development, personal finances, wealth building. And then the application is having mentors, people who've done it before you have, watching them, mimicking them, just looking at their systems, meeting with them, shadowing them, and just say, hey, can you teach me the things that you know? By having those mentors. And then the last thing really is making sure you apply, making sure that you're staying motivated and focused by applying what you've learned. And then each and every day filling your calendar with activities that will help you hit your vision every single day.
Awesome. I love it. I love it.
Yes, sir.
One of the things, I love about the things that you built here, it's just amazing. Again, your team helps me with my own personal and business taxes. And so, There's a couple people on your team that I've been able to interact with. And one of the gentlemen is Eugene Marshall. And I've only spoken to him a few times, but he's been very helpful with the things that I've going on. And, then I see him on Facebook posting about the properties and units that he's been able to acquire. And, it's you practice what you preach kind of mentality. Anything you want to add on that in terms of just, the team and practice what you preach kind of mentality?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, Joe. So we have a team of 20 or so folks right now, and we're literally drilling abundance into their brains, right? They're reading the Infinite Expansion book. They're coming to all of our events, our webinars. They're going on a website. So they're embedding their brains with pure abundance knowledge. And they even go through an experience called Abundance Day, which is a 30-day experience that allows you to live life more abundantly. So you do want to practice what you preach, and you want to create an environment where people are essentially promoting your values, what we call core values. One of our core values in our firm is a burning desire for an abundant lifestyle. And anyone who doesn't demonstrate the ability to meet or close to meeting that value is not someone who we want on our team. Because the things that they're doing in their own lives, they're probably going to be promoting that to our clients as well. And if someone is promoting scarcity, they're always like, oh, I don't have enough, right? Then they're probably going to say the same thing to our client. And it's like, okay, well, what service did you actually provide to that client or to society as a whole? So you want to make sure you're practicing what you're preaching, and your team is really pretty much they're embodying all the things that you do. Not saying they have to be exactly like you or copy you, but you want to make sure you promote an environment where people are thinking just like you are. Right. So the team is very important. And remember, you cannot achieve the dream without the team.
Totally. One of the life-changing books for me was a book called The Power of Consistency. And I talked about this many times on this channel. And one of the core concepts he talks about is his prosperity plan, where he basically is programming his vision and goals and action items into his brain every single day through repetition and over and over and over. And things, evolve and change. But and this guy was in jail 3 times, and he was in jail the last stint, for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And, with no hope, his family in a different place, was reading all the books, the Stephen Covey's, the Tony Robbins of the world, and no hope and no vision of possibility. And basically realizing that his thoughts literally dictate his results. And through this process of changing the way what he thinks about every single day, enable him to have the confidence and believe in himself to go over time, be able to get his degree and then get a master's. And then when he got out of jail, started his own business and turned it into a multi-million-dollar business, by literally seeing it and believing in it well in advance of the actual results coming. And so when you say, embody the team, embody the group with the environment and the values, when you talk about abundance, this is not just a one-time kind of a thing. This is something that I'm assuming that you guys talk about and
Every
talk
day.
about every single day. Okay, every
Yeah.
single day, every single day, because we're not programmed on our everyday life with these types of mindset and values with the TV, news, and all in school. These types of entrepreneurial mindset values are not preached every day. So, for the listeners that don't know what abundance mindset means, can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So basically, abundance is seeing no limits. It is having a growth mentality. Like I'm always growing. I'm always getting more. Abundance is having more than enough of something. Right. It's having so much to the point where you can literally give it away and it wouldn't even affect you. So abundance is having plentiful of something and being able to be in such a joyful position that you can literally give most of it away and still be satisfied.
And that's as opposed to you mentioned a scarcity mindset. Can you explain that?
Yeah, scarcity was when you're hoarding, right? When you're like, man, I got to keep this dollar. I don't want to invest it. This is my last dollar. I'm in a rush, right? You're just so like you're living life under the gun, basically. So pressured. You're like you basically have limited resources, and you don't believe that there's enough resources to go around for everybody, right? So you're always hoarding and you're always holding on to the things that you have to the point where it doesn't allow you to go out and get more.
So can you give us an example of, okay, so if I've got this abundance mindset,
Mhm.
how does that make my life change? How does that change things at the end of the day?
Yeah, it allows you to continue seeking more, right? And for me, I've read the good book, aka the Bible, and it says basically be fruitful, increase, and multiply in numbers, aka be abundant. Right. So it even all goes back to the original. So by living in abundance, you are not number one, you're not greedy because there's infinite supply in the world. There's infinite resources. Number two, you're always going out to get it. You're not letting small things in life distract you. You're like, you know what? Forget this. Let me just keep going. You're focused, you're laser focused. You're always increasing your knowledge because you know that you don't know enough, right? And so with that being said, you're always hunting for more. It leads to a more fulfilling life, a more purposeful life. And to me, it brings joy in life unlike any other.
And so if I'm a listener out there and I want to learn more about this, where do I find it again?
JeffBadu.com. JEFFBADU.com. Just go on the website, maybe spend 30 minutes to an hour just surfing through the resources. Start with the books. The books are really where to start.
Can you show
But
us
then
the book
there's,
one more time?
yeah, so it's the infinite expansion, essentially, basically how to infinitely expand your vision of abundance. Talks about the 12 steps to creating an abundant lifestyle. So it's literally in my life purpose, and this is what I do each and every single day.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I mean, the people that I talk to and we're trying to help, go down their own entrepreneurial path. The biggest advice that I can give to anybody is that just remember that if you're trying to get somewhere, it's not going to happen overnight. We have this
Mm.
quantum leap type of mentality where we think that the results are going to happen, tomorrow or the next day.
Yes,
If
sir.
you read a book, I mean, if you love it and it's powerful, there's no reason why you shouldn't read it twice or 5 times or 10 times over a period of months or weeks or whatever. That's something that I do personally. It helps me because I'm literally taking the information in that book and I'm programming it into my subconscious brain to help me increase the odds of reaching my ultimate goal.
Yes, sir.
So I love talking about this stuff and just so happy to have you on here talking about your journey. And, we talked through the example of Brianna, who a real estate agent started to be able to build her career, increase income, go through some tax strategies, allows that person to be able to save more money, invest it, buy real estate, and that's a compound effect to be able to continue to do some more and more and more. Um, what would be another example of somebody in maybe a different industry that we can just briefly touch on that is going through a process of building this type of generational wealth?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Joe. So I just use another example, and essentially someone who's a W-2 employee and they're making six figures a year in income. I just say they're a property manager for for a real estate company, and they do the same. I mean, they can't necessarily write things off currently because they don't have an actual business yet, right? But basically, they have 100,000 in income. They are a real estate professional. They go out, do what Brianna did, buy a 4 unit FHA, 400,000, right, in purchase price, and they basically do the same. Or let's just do another one, right? Let's just say $150,000 salary, $600,000 building. Take 25% of the building, 150. Boom, wipe out your 150 income. So that's a W-2 employee.
Mhm.
And now we're also getting more tax deductions and meals, your travel, you're channeling everything through your LLC now, right? Your meals, your travel, your home office, all the things you're doing to support your real estate business. You just keep doing, you keep accumulating buildings. Maybe you just buy one building a year, right? Using money you save in a down payment. Keep doing that. You eventually quit your full-time job, start your own property management company, build a team, and next thing you know, you own a ton of properties cash flowing each and every month.
Love it. Love it. So if somebody has questions about how or what or where they can fit into the quote unquote real estate professional, then listeners out there, please reach out to Jeff at the website. The team will respond and set up appointments and talk through everything. Just it's powerful stuff. It's helped me on my own journey, on my own real estate path, and I'm definitely appreciative of that and your team, because I had no idea this stuff was possible, and now that I know that it's possible, I want more. My why is so strong. You know, we talk about this all the time. When your why is strong enough, the how figures itself out. And so I know where I'm trying to go, and that's accumulate real estate. Exactly. And I'm not stopping until I get the next one and the next one. So any other advice you would give to somebody out there right now? And I'll preface this by saying, you know, this is such an interesting time, because coming out of COVID, you got so many people. You mentioned Uber, right? You have so many people that throughout this COVID time horizon and the whole, you know, economy and people's lives have changed upside down, and people have been able to survive for the most part in terms of finding different ways to create income and different ways to be able to work from home and build businesses on the side or whatever. And so if we go into a recession, this society, in my opinion, has never been more equipped to handle a recession than ever. So if there's somebody out there that wants to take their business to the next level, take their life to the next level, any other advice for that aspiring entrepreneur?
Yeah, I would say, number one, you only live once. And so, you know, treat it as such. Number two is don't let anyone dictate your future or your career. Make smart choices, right? Make smart choices. For example, you probably don't want to quit your job when you have a lot of things that you need to take care of first before you make that jump. So make smart choices along the way. But at the end of the day, don't let any one person, whether it's your spouse, your boss, whatever it is, don't let them dictate who you are and what it is you can do, right? Your potential. And yeah, I mean, if you don't have a business, please start one. Even if it's a small Amazon third-party retailer, Uber, like, start something so that you can create a tax shelter and start putting yourself in the business mind frame, so that when you do start the real business, you'd have already pre-programmed yourself for success, essentially.
Awesome. So I know we're running over time here, and there's so much more that we can dig into down the road. Hopefully we can have you back on again. But Jeff Badu in Chicago, Illinois. Again, can you give our listeners the quick background on yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, I was born and raised in Ghana. Came to the U.S. when I was 8 years old, and fast forward, got my bachelor's and master's degree in accounting at the U of I, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers for a few years, and while I was in college, I was building my business plan, which today is now known as Badu Tax Services, that does tax preparation, tax planning, and tax representation for individuals and businesses, which is part of the overall bigger company, Badu Enterprises LLC, which is the multinational conglomerate that owns a tax firm, real estate investment company, life and health insurance agency, and then we also have our nonprofit, the Badu Foundation. And then lastly, my purpose in life is to inspire and support the super hungry to take hold of infinite resources in order to create an abundant lifestyle.
Okay, so if there's somebody out there that fits that description of super hungry, what do they need to be doing? Do they reach out to you?
Yeah, reach out to me immediately. Right, go on the website, check out the resources first. Reach out to me. Let's get a consultation. Let's get a meeting in the books, and I'm sure we'll be able to come to a great conclusion at the end of that.
Okay. All right, Jeff. Thank you so much for making time for us today. I'm looking forward to catching up very soon, and have a good rest of your week.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Likewise.
All right. Take care.